the heart of the bustling city of Veracruz, Mexico, journalist Regina Martinez had earned a reputation as a tenacious reporter, known for her fearless investigations into political corruption and drug trafficking. Her articles exposed the intricate webs of deceit spun by powerful figures, risking her safety for the truth. Regina was driven by a relentless pursuit of justice, believing that her work could make a difference in a world rife with impunity. Regina's passion for journalism stemmed from a deep-seated belief that the public deserved to know the truth, especially in a country plagued by violence and corruption. She often wrote about the connections between politicians and drug cartels, revealing how these alliances devastated communities. Her work not only informed the public, but also inspired others to speak out against the corruption that seemed to seep into every facet of society. As her investigations intensified, Regina found herself receiving anonymous threats. Friends and family urged her to take precautions, but she brushed off their concerns, fueled by the belief that she was making a difference. "The truth is worth the risk," she often said, her resolve unwavering. In the months leading up to her death, Regina was focused on a particular story that had the potential to expose a high-ranking official involved in drug trafficking. She had gathered evidence linking the politician to several unsolved murders and financial irregularities, a bombshell that could shake the very foundations of local power. Yet, the closer she got to uncovering the truth, the more dangerous her work became. On April 28, 2012, Regina was found dead in her apartment, her lifeless body discovered by her friends when she failed to respond to their calls. The news of her murder sent shockwaves through Veracruz and the entire country. The vibrant journalist, who had dedicated her life to uncovering the truth, had become a victim of the very corruption she sought to expose. The initial investigation into Regina's murder was mired in chaos and inconsistencies. Authorities declared her death a robbery gone wrong, claiming that valuable items had been taken from her home. However, those who knew her were quick to dispute this narrative. Regina had been careful and methodical, often hiding her sensitive materials in places known only to her. Friends and colleagues suspected that her murder was not a random act of violence, but a targeted assassination meant to silence her. As the news spread, fellow journalists and activists rallied in protest, demanding justice for Regina. They organized vigils and marches, chanting her name, calling for an end to the violence against journalists in Mexico. The hashtag #Justicia por Regina trended on social media as people across the country mourned the loss of a courageous woman who had risked her life to inform them. Amidst the outcry, the Mexican government promised to investigate her murder, but the wheels of justice turned slowly. Days turned into weeks, and still no significant progress was made. Many believed that the local police were either unwilling or unable to confront the powerful figures linked to Regina's investigations. As the investigation stalled, Regina's family sought help from international organizations. The Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, and other advocacy groups began to take an interest in her case, emphasizing the need for transparency and accountability in Mexico's justice system. The public pressure mounted, forcing authorities to re-examine the evidence. In a pivotal turn of events, authorities finally acknowledged that Regina had been working on sensitive stories that could have made her a target. The investigation into her murder was reopened, and new leads began to emerge. Several of Regina's colleagues, fearing for their own safety, came forward with information about her investigations and the threats she had received. Through their testimonies, it became evident that Regina was not alone in her fight against corruption. Many journalists in Veracruz had experienced similar harassment, a systematic attempt to silence those who dared to speak out. The connections between organized crime, corrupt politicians, and law enforcement were more pervasive than anyone had previously realized. Months later, a breakthrough occurred. Authorities arrested a suspect, a former police officer linked to a notorious drug cartel operating in the region. Evidence suggested that he had been tasked with monitoring Regina's activities, providing valuable intelligence to his employers about her investigations. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community and reignited the public's desire for justice. However, the arrest did little to quell the fear that gripped Veracruz. Journalists continued to work under the shadow of violence, aware that their lives hung in the balance. As the investigation unfolded, more journalists faced threats, and some even went into hiding, fearing for their safety. Despite the dangers, Regina's colleagues remained resolute. They published stories that honored her legacy, highlighting the ongoing fight for press freedom in Mexico. The movement for justice continued to grow, as more voices joined the chorus demanding accountability for Regina's murder and the countless others who had suffered similar fates. As the trial of the suspect began, it drew national attention. Activists, journalists, and members of the public filled the courtroom, eager to witness the proceedings and to ensure that Regina's story was not forgotten. The trial served as a stark reminder of the risks faced by those who dared to challenge corruption and crime. While the legal process unfolded, the question of whether true justice could be achieved loomed large. Many feared that powerful interests would interfere, manipulating the system to protect their own. Yet, the determination of Regina's family and colleagues provided hope. They refused to let her murder be in vain and continued to fight for a more transparent and accountable society. Regina's case became emblematic of the struggle faced by journalists in Mexico, shining a light on the dangers they faced in their pursuit of truth. The world began to take notice, with international organizations pressuring the Mexican government to improve protections for journalists and to investigate threats against the press. In the wake of her murder, a foundation was established in Regina's name, aimed at providing resources and support for journalists facing threats. Her legacy continued to inspire a new generation of reporters committed to uncovering the truth, even in the face of adversity. As years passed, some progress was made in addressing the systemic violence against journalists in Mexico, but the country still faced challenges. Regina's story remained a poignant reminder of the price of truth and the ongoing struggle for justice. In a world where corruption often reigns, the spirit of journalists like Regina Martinez endures. Her unwavering commitment to exposing the truth continues to inspire those who carry on the fight, reminding everyone that even in the darkest moments, the pursuit of justice is a cause worth fighting for. The fight for justice for Regina and for countless others remains unfinished, but their stories fuel the resolve of those who dare to stand against corruption.